How we doing, boys and girls? Good evening. Welcome, welcome. What's up, what's up? Oh, it's time for day 2. It's time to do it all again. What a fun, interesting 24 hours it's been. Oh my lord. Not being my man with the 10 months. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Welcome in and good evening to you. Tier 2 as well, you boss. Love that. Thank you, thank you. How are we all doing this evening, boys and girls? Are we good? Are we good? I've had a little bit of time to digest, to think about things, look at things in perspective. And generally, pretty good. It's not often to where we have so much things announced and there to not really be any negatives, which is very nice. I mean, there's a small one. There's one small one with the epic upgrade that is rubbing a few people up the wrong way. Understandably, I would point out. The 3-day early access is a bit gross. But everything else, pretty solid. Pretty solid. Let's turn the tunes down a little bit here. Let's turn the tunes down. You guys can play your own tunes in the background. Once this kicks in, we'll have some tunes from here as well anyway. I want to actually take a little bit of a look at the Rumble panel because we've got a while, right? We've got a while until the deep dive. The deep dive is not for another 92 minutes by the looks of things, according to my screen. So we've got a little bit of time. I thought about maybe playing some Rumble, but then I also realised that, hang on, I could probably do with watching the Rumble panel from yesterday. I was not willing to stay up quite so late to watch that. Let me see if I can find yesterday's actual opening ceremony. It's going to be on here, isn't it? Whoa, that's loud. BlizzCon day 1. BlizzCon day 2. Streamed 2 years ago. Where was yesterday's stream? Have they unlisted yesterday's stream? I tell you what's happened. They've probably had the same problem I had. Do you want to know what's really funny? Or it's funny if you care about these things. It's not funny it's not funny if you care about these things. Stupid stream was copyrighted yesterday on YouTube. Stupid flipping K-pop band for that 60 seconds of stupid 60 seconds Overwatch trailer with K-pop playing on it. They've gone and copyrighted everybody. So that could be why it's not public. How do I watch yesterday's stream then? How do we do that then? Is it on the official Rumble channel? Is the VOD on Twitch a thing? Let's have a look. Is that yesterday's stream? That must be yesterday's stream. Recent broadcasts 4 years ago. Don't think so. Huh. Oh, that's loud in my ears. Shush. Okay. Well, in that case, then, maybe I don't have the ability to watch finish off watching yesterday's. Well, that's a shame. Has anybody else figured this out? Has anybody else figured it out? I'm completely unhinged after the transmog announcement. It's, yeah, I think that's cool. I think that's one of the best changes they could have done. It's a quality of life change that I don't think really needs to be, overly shouted about regards. Like, It doesn't need to be an expansion feature. It should just be subtly... That's just a quality of life that could easily be put in a 0.5 or a 0.7 patch, to be fair, but... Rumble stream was mostly about just the history of the game. Did they not talk about the raids or anything? That's kind of more so what I would be interested in, to be honest, but... I wish they'd just include it in Wednesday's patch. It does kind of leave a sour taste in your mouth until the new expansion, though, because you're like, oh, well, I could go out, collect transmog, but my efforts are like 1/4 of what they probably could be in the future. If you spend an hour now, you'd have to spend 4 hours now to achieve the same as what you could in an hour. It's going to dramatically cut down the amount of time you might need to farm for things. They did some, but it was a lot about the early development. Oh, I see. Are the Rumble dungeons single player? Yeah, they are. The dungeons are one of the weakest aspects of this. Unfortunately, they did try to hype it up for the announcement of it, but in my opinion, the dungeons are one of the weaker aspects of it because you seemingly need to just you need to run them a lot. They have sort of alleviated the problem a little bit. The reason, let me put it this way then, the reason you run the dungeons is simple. The reason you run the dungeons is because every time you complete a dungeon, you get to upgrade one of the slots in your loadout. You first upgrade it to bronze, then you upgrade it to silver, then you upgrade it to gold. But you only get one upgrade per dungeon run. And every time you complete a dungeon, the difficulty of the dungeon goes up by 1. Now, initially, this means when you get a brand new leader, that leader is going to start at level 5 for the dungeon. What it previously meant is that you would need to run just spam run the dungeon, and it was you could often be way over leveled for the dungeon, and you just face roll the dungeon, and it's aggressively frustrating because you just feel as if, oh, well, why do I have to run this 10 times? When you first pick up the game, the dungeons are actually quite hard because your minis probably are only just about level 5. You probably don't have that many minis. But the difficulty curve for dungeons starts up here, goes from plus 100 to minus 100. Once you've got a few leaders and a few minis and a few levels under your belt, the dungeons just become an absolute face roll, and you just have to churn through. You have to grind through them. But then eventually, oh hello, what's going on here? But then eventually it flips again. And the dungeons all of a sudden become problematic. So yeah, they're one of the weaker aspects, unfortunately. Dungeons are per leader, yeah. Are they unlocking transmog so if your mage can wear plate going? No. No. It's just from a collection standpoint. It's just purely from a collection standpoint. It's that you will be able to, when you run the dungeon, if you are running on a mage, if you're running a dungeon on a mage and a piece of plate drops, you won't be able to equip that piece of plate because a mage can't wear plate. But you will learn the appearance of that, so your plate wearing alts can then mog that piece of gear. It's a nice quality of life for the collectors out there, for the people that, you know, like to top up their transmog collection. Do we have anything fun and interesting in the store in here? Anything fun and interesting in the store here? What's this one? Brittle ice. Enemies take 30% additional damage from physical sources. It's not a bad one, actually. I don't particularly want to be buying the traits at the moment. The traits are too expensive. And I still need upgrades for a lot of my minis. We've actually worked through quite a few of these in the last few days. If we look at my loadouts, We're starting to see lots of greens, lots of uncommon minis. Not too many grey ones left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 more minis to upgrade to uncommon. Once we get all of those to uncommon, then I'll be a little bit more liberal with buying the traits for them. I bought traits on some of them already, but only on ones that I've actually sort of played with properly or would want to play with more. So this is work in progress for sure. Want to know if that means that all BOE gear gets soulbound if you have an armor type that hasn't learnt it? Oh, I don't know. There's clearly some. There's clearly some ins and outs we'll figure out for sure. I wonder how you gain rep from all characters. I mean, like parking an alt account to a rep farm. The rep side of things, it's probably quite important to point out that the rep is at least to begin with, is not going to be retroactively adjusted. So they were claiming that only renown from the new expansion would be account wide. So don't assume everything's going to be rep account wide straight away. They've already tried to make that clear. They haven't done a good job, but have I done my dailies today? I've still got some dailies to do. Maybe we can run a couple of quests. Let's run a couple of quests. Let's give some points to Stonehoof is lacking. Lacking schlackins. Lacking schlackins. What are we looking for from the deep dive there? I mean, I would love if in the deep dive... The problem is I know the word professions will not be muttered even once in this deep dive panel. I know it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen for the very simple reason that a deep dive is going to be focused on the new things that they've told us about. It might give us some better information about these warbands, which would be cool. But it's mostly going to be... Dare I say it, of the 45-minute panel, they'll probably spend 25 to 30 minutes talking about things that most people don't care that much about. E.g., you know, the thought process behind the zones. I don't think they'll probably talk as much as anybody would want them to about like the systems and how things actually work. This might be why they have chosen not to do a live Q&A this year, as the suspicion probably is that there's lots of stuff they maybe don't want to answer questions about. And what's the best way to prevent having to answer questions? Don't take any, or selectively take them. Oh no, why have you stopped off to kill this dude? I mean, sure, but can't we just take the boss down? Can't we just kill the boss now? Oh, hang on. Why are we taking damage? Ouch! Harpies, go away! Anything you didn't like so far regarding the new announcements? Not particularly. I mean, obviously, it's kind of it's easy to focus on the big ticket attractions, e.g., the fact that they've announced 3 expansions in one go. I do think that if we read between the lines, it becomes very apparent that we are going to be, or should be, expecting these expansions to be much shorter than 24 months, which they've historically been. I think we are... It's maybe not... Maybe they're not necessarily holding themselves to a... They might not be holding themselves to an exact time frame. They might not be aiming for like yearly raids. But there is something to be said about a schedule for this sort of stuff, right? Look at games like Call of Duty. There is not a Christmas that has happened for the last 10 years where there has not been a new Call of Duty game. You know, it's just that, right? So this is why launching a new expansion or something in, you know, November-ish time is super profitable for a company like that. And it gets people into the sort of the swing of things, right? The expectation is that if you got a new expansion this time this year, you'll get a new expansion the next time next year. I do think though, and I wonder if they've been deliberate about this, I do think that if they are going to shorten the length of an expansion, they need to consider the monetization model that they're using here. They need to heavily consider that people are going to be less happy paying sometimes $90. 90 because, you know, the Epic Edition is there and they've put some serious FOMO in the Epic Edition. It makes the $90 Epic Edition borderline mandatory in the eyes of many. If you're going to start asking for $90 on a yearly basis, which, you know, that's AAA game prices right there. Call of Duty, you know, that's AAA game prices. They come out yearly. So the box price is not a problem. It's the additional, you know, it's the additional subscription on top that is starts to make it a touch pricey. It's a value proposition, right? We've gone almost 20 years now with the cost of the expansion never really be feeling too outrageous. They've often kept the value of the expansion, the box price of the expansion, a touch below the sort of the industry standard for a AAA title, which I think is fair because it was always painted as an expansion, not a new game. You can't charge new game prices if you're still calling it an expansion. We've kind of let them get away with that a little bit in the last few years. No longer do we really even bat an eyelid the fact that they're charging us AAA prices for an expansion. But that's also because, let's be real, outside of the expansion, everything prior to it stops sort of really having any value. So, I mean, it is almost a new expansion is almost a new game. So you kind of, you know, there's some leeway there. But at least you knew you were paying that price and then you just had your monthly subscription as and when you wanted to play for the next 2 years. I mean, if you make enough gold in the game, it doesn't matter. So in some regards, you know, I feel kind of lucky that this doesn't really directly affect me as much. But what does affect me is the 3-day head start FOMO of the Epic Edition, which is scumbag marketing, scumbag cash grab. There's literally no other way to describe it, honestly. $180 for the collector's edition that won't include a copy of the game as well, by the way. I'll just probably point that out. They tend to have this tends to be a thing. Oh no, my poor harpies. I wasn't paying attention. Right, we took a bit of damage there, but we're good. We got this. Go on, take that tower at least. Take the tower. Got the tower. Good. Now we got that one. We can focus on this one. He's going to charge, but it's fine. Stun him. Okay, we lost one harpy here. He's doing his bit up there. We're going to need to defend this, I reckon. It would be nice if we didn't have to, but I think we are going to need to. Oh, where are you, Peg, going? Oh no, I've just gone to put a bunch... There we go. There we go. Send these guys this way. Get rid of this fella. Right. Big stony dude. Aggroed the tower. Lovely jubbly. Let's put a distraction back there. Let the Murlocs do Murloc things. Harpies are en route. We got this. We got this. GG. Nice. Nice. I think they'll limit what you can do in the early access so much. So much it won't really matter. It doesn't matter. It like that's you know that's semantics at that point. Semantics at that point don't matter. It's a very, very clear, obvious FOMO tactic. There are people who have played. If you only joined the game during Dragonflight, you probably have never experienced an expansion launch. But then again, there's also lots of other people who have played this game for long enough that they've experienced one or two or even many expansion launches, and those players know full well that the first week of an expansion launch is the best week of the year. And it only often came round once every 2 years, so it was arguably better than Christmas. People are going to be unlikely or very unwilling or at the very least disheartened to find out that unless they pay more, they have to wait 3 additional days and they have to watch all of their friends and the streamers and everybody and the content creators and everybody out there playing it. Psychological warfare. It's not anything that I consider a defensible action. Downloaded BlueStacks to play Rumble because my phone sucks, but BlueStacks wants to unlock something called virtualization. Is that a bad thing? I have no idea. I can't. Virtualization. I don't know. I don't know. I can't imagine it is. No. There'll be some smart people in there that'll probably know the answer, but it doesn't sound like a problem to me. I'll get the cheap version. Don't particularly want to play the beta. I'm fine with 70% doing the head start of 3 days. It's just, you know, I don't know. I could see. I don't know. If it was an upsell from the base to the heroic, it's more justifiable. But slapping it on the top price $90 version of the game is beyond acceptable in my opinion. The problem is, it doesn't make a blind bit of difference what anybody says at this point because the decision's been made. What you really got to understand with this is because people will have gone out there and will have bought the expansion by now, money has exchanged hands. It's not something that Blizzard can just turn around and go, oh, you know what? Yeah, you're right. It's not good. That would cause just as much chaos. The legalities behind taking somebody's money and, you know, there's some serious legalities in that. You can't start offering something for a price and then 180 on the offering because a few people say they don't like it. It's here to stay. I just wish it wasn't. How many people are going to purchase the Epic Edition? A lot. A lot. Make way more in the first 3 days to cover the cost of the upgrade. If you're smart about it, yeah, without question. Without question. The opportunities in the first few days of an expansion are ridiculous. But that's, you know, that's only a select few people that really take advantage of that. I have messed this up pretty badly at this point, yeah. I was not paying any attention to what was going on there, was I? Let's talk release date speculation. Early November. Early November makes perfect sense to me. I mean, it's technically fall. December, January, February is what are considered the winter months. Early November. 14th of November, the 20th year anniversary. Launching the 10th expansion on the 20th anniversary. It's got the marketing swing behind it. The 12-month sub offer going live just before BlizzCon makes sense. That way we'd see early, straight after BlizzCon 2024 for the yearly releases. It lines up. There's no denying it starts to make a lot of sense. It lines up quite nicely. That leaves us to assume that we have 12 months of Dragonflight. More that we are still less than halfway through Dragonflight. By that perspective, some people have started to write Dragonflight off as done, closed. We've still got another year, another 12 months of Dragonflight. 500,000 tokens, anybody? 500,000 tokens, without a doubt. How the hell do you get a Huntress that is got stealth? That's not fair. That's not fair at all. How's everything got stealth? Making this significantly more difficult. Right, quick, take the tower. Oh god. Oh god. Okay, we need to fight fire with fire. How can I fight fire with fire when everything's stealthed? You pair will stealth up. Oh no, now the Huntress is too fast. She's going to take aggro. Quick, take the tower, stun it. Okay. One thing I am terrible at this game is actually using the kobolds to go mining. I should do way more of that, and I just forget. Ouch! Stealth Huntresses are not fun. Ow! Get off my tower! Right, I need to protect. Oh, this has not gone to plan. Oh no, I've got a Huntress strolling down here as well. Right, you got to distract that way. Flipping stealth Cobalt. Okay, we're making a push here. Making a push. Ignore this lot. Where did he come from? Ignore this lot. You go. No, Huntress, go. Right. It's all about who gets there first. It's all about who gets there first. Oh, that was the game-winning play. That was the game-winning play. Oh, I've lost. No. Damn you, game. Oh my god, I'm still alive. Okay. If we're still alive, protect these guys like you've never protected half a piece before in your life. Push will be pushed. Push will be pushed. One shot. Oh my god, how did I win that? Oh, I should not have won that. That was not fair. That was not fair. I should not have won that. What's going on here? Are we live? Somebody's pressed a button. The show will begin shortly. Is it that time already? Isn't there still an hour before? Isn't this okay? They did a whoopsie. Do the Rumble dungeons scale with your troop level, or do you just throw in your strongest at it and it requires a faction leader? That's kind of what I do with the dungeons, yeah. Although when you get higher level dungeons, you need to start planning ahead a little bit for them, because you don't get the reward of doing the dungeon unless you complete all 3 wings of the dungeon. So okay, there's our daily results out of the way anyway. Nice. Unlocked let's put the tower skins. Changed cobalt miner skins to the new fancy ones. Right, okay. I think that's enough. That's enough rumbling for now. We can turn Rumble off. Maybe play some more Rumble later. If we got still about an hour to go. I see, this has thrown me, you know. I was really planning on watching the Rumble thing, but I can't find it. I'll do that on my own time. Let's check some auctions or something. I did for those who were watching last night, you may have noticed I accidentally upgraded my auction house account rather than my main account, so I now have 2 copies of The War Within. What are you gonna do? I think it's the Guild Clash or something before the WoW panel. I think it goes straight into the WoW deep dive. I am led to believe. It's straight into the WoW deep dive. 9 PM for me. This is all in my local times, by the way. 8 PM EU server time, if that helps. Or in other words, in about an hour's time. It's just coming up to 8, so yeah, in about an hour we'll have the World of Warcraft deep dive. That's the reason we're here tonight, for sure. So we've got to wait for that to turn up. Let's get some auctions sorted whilst we chat about some potentials going forward. Do we even think that the word professions are going to be mentioned at all this evening? I'm not convinced, you know. Page is smart, shows the browser's time zone. Yeah, I like it when things are smart. It makes life so much easier. Just like Heroes of the Storm. Yeah, kinda. Don't think so. There's only 3 pillars. That's yeah, it did make me chuckle when we spotted that. Or when he said that. When he speaks about the 3 pillars of WoW. I was like, where did the 4th pillar go? Oh, that was clearly salesman tactics, wasn't it? There never was a 4th pillar. Have I gotten any packages in the mail from Blizzard yet? No, I'm not that well affiliated with Blizzard, unfortunately. Yeah, I've there is a secret club, but I'm not part of it. I don't mind. Honestly, there's part of me that feels that I would feel awkward sometimes talking about Blizzard in certain lights if I was also affiliated with them at the same time. It would tick and smell of marzipan. Well, that goes a bit far. Let's hope not. You only need to balance. No need to balance if you only have 3 pillars. Oh dear, oh dear. Who's the current professions dev? As it stands right now, I don't know. There was a guy that was in charge of professions and rewards, but he's been very silent for quite a while now. He ghosted us after the last blue post. Well, yeah, he had the disfortune of speaking his mind online, and then it came across wrong, And people told him it came across wrong. And I wonder if Blizzard also told him that it came across wrong and told him he's not allowed to do it anymore. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of how Blizzard works. I do kind of wonder what the hell they're going to be able to throw at us to keep us busy for a year, though. Because 10.2 is not going to last forever. 10.2, from a progression perspective, the speed in which I think people are going to complete the Emerald Dream is bananas fast. I think people are going to have that zone done and dusted before you can blink. I know that the item level jump is going to slow people down a touch. But then again, at the same time, soon as people get the ball rolling, they will zoom. Season of Discovery, Kata. This is it, you know. This is what I tend to think now, and I'm more of this belief every time I see Blizzard announce something, is that they really, really don't consider these games different games anymore. They consider the Warcraft brand as one, and they are trying to build a system where there is always something prominently happening under the Warcraft brand. So whether it be that there's a Season of Discovery, whether it be there's a new retail patch, whether there's a classic expansion announcement, as long as there is something under the Warcraft banner going on, they're happy. But it means that they don't have to have something always going on for all of them. They consider the Warcraft brand one, I think, nowadays. Now, that's great for you if you are happy to play every version of Classic they throw at you, if you also want to play retail, and if you also, you know, if you are willing to play every aspect that is under the Warcraft brand, that's fine. But selling Kata again for €80, big brain. That's more expensive than it was the first time round. The price they're trying to charge for the classic versions of the game baffles me. Actually baffles me. If you pay attention to the announcements, they include a lot of games under Warcraft, even things like Hearthstone and the new Rumble one. Exactly, this is it. They're sort of spreading their wings further so that they've always got something going on. And it feels a lot like the sort of like the Apple ecosystem that they create, right? Like I use the Apple ecosystem as an example because it's one that's very obvious to people. It's very obvious to people that if you buy an iPhone, you are probably likely to then also have an Apple Watch, or you're also likely to have an a MacBook, or you'll buy the iMac or something. Apple are historically very good at locking you into their ecosystem. Blizzard don't necessarily lock you in, but what they are able to do, and have been able to do very efficiently over the years, is if you play one of their games, give you a really good, or they have a lot of crossover to their other games. So they can kind of get away with having sort of quiet patches in their games without it really being detrimental. I believe see, this is the thing, right? I believe Classic is actually free. It's just if you want the extra stuff. I think they're straight up charging like 50 euros more for a €50 boost. So it doesn't really make a huge amount of sense, but Warcraft Classic. If you were to upgrade now, Blazing Heroic, what shows what's in either of them. You get the mount. You get a mount avatar of the flame flying mount. Runebound Firelord flying mount for modern World of Warcraft. Oh Jesus! People are going to have to buy this just to get the mount in retail. See, this is what I mean, right? This is what they mean. They have this fantastic way of like linking everything together. Meaning that if you play one, there's a good chance you play the other and vice versa. Little Rathian Pet for modern World of Warcraft characters. Twilight Hammer Regalia Transmog set. Town in a Box starter set toy. And then if you pay for the Blazing Epic upgrade, you get 30 days of game time and a level 80 character boost. But simply playing Cataclysm Classic will be included within a World of Warcraft subscription, or as long as you have game time on your account. No additional cost once the game itself actually launches. So the expansion is in essence free, but if you want the cool stuff to go with it, which is very much optional at that point. I wonder how much they actually charge for the character boosts, though. I mean, it does kind of... This was one of the things that does kind of frustrate me about Classic, that they sell the character boosts in the first place. So it's a level 80 character boost, right? Yeah, it's a straight up max level character boost. Boom, no messing. Max level character boost. Oh no, hang on. 80... It's 85 in Cataclysm, isn't it? 85 is max level in Cataclysm. It's the one that did the 5. Sorry, I forget. Check the shop, it's there. Warcraft Classic. Level 80 character boost, 60 euros for a single character boost. Sheesh. And a month of game time. Sheesh. It's expensive. But this in theory now means that you can buy max level characters in Wrath Classic. You just straight up buy max level characters. Defeats the object of defeats the point of Classic for me when you can just buy max level. Like Classic was about Classic for the longest time was about leveling character. Like if you have zero time invested in a character, you have zero investment in that character, other than the 60 euros loss you have out of your back pocket. Classic, for me, the thing that made Classic is that I had one or two characters that I really cared about. I super duper cared about those characters. Why? Because it took me forever to level them up. It was a journey, it was an experience, and I enjoyed every minute of it. But then again, I guess that's why we're 10, 15 years on, I guess. And people play games very differently nowadays, clearly. And I'm the old man in the situation, obviously. It just does feel a bit. It rubs me the wrong way, and I think I know why, but it still feels odd. I'm going to put this over on my other screen. One, because I don't particularly need to see that, and that works fine. Okay, let's get some stuff sold. If we are going to whale out in Rumble at any point, I actually need to probably make some gold. Would be sensible. I need to relist all my pets, actually. I've not relisted pets for a while. Wonder how early access will work with the physical collector's edition. I don't believe the collector's edition comes with a copy of the game, right? If I understand it correctly. The collector's edition is just a box of toys. It doesn't come with a copy of the game. You need to purchase your copy of the game separately, I believe. Well, that's how they did it for Dragonflight. Oh, was that D4? Am I misrepresenting D4's scumbaggery? Do not be too surprised if they do the same for the new expansion then. It sounds ridiculous, but I mean, I guess it sounds ridiculous because it is. I need to refill my Blizzard balance. And then try very hard not to spend it all on gold in Rumble. but I don't particularly want to refill my Blizzard balance at 400k plus tokens. But I see nothing bringing that token price down for a while. If we don't hit 500,000 tokens, I'll eat a hat. And I don't have many hats left because I keep eating them. They've dipped below 400k again now. If we've still got a year of Dragonflight, these are 500k. These are 500k tokens without even blinking. For reference, throughout all of, I'm going to go back historically a little bit here. Throughout Shadowlands, and let's not forget, Shadowlands was an expansion where people were heavily incentivized to buy tokens to get the gold they needed to buy their legendaries. In Shadowlands, there was an average of a 10,000 gold a month increase in the value of the token. When you look at what the token price was at the start of the expansion and what it finished at, it was roughly 10,000 gold a month increase. That trend has been more aggressive in Dragonflight, especially over on Team NA. I have no idea what's occurred on Team NA, but if we still theoretically have another year of Dragonflight, that's another 100 to 120k on top of the token value as we see now. I can't imagine there's going to be a huge amount of stuff that's going to push the token value down. You need people to care so much about gold that they want to buy a whole bunch of tokens. That's realistically the only thing that pushes the token down. Bruto 2.0 with a mailbox for 7 to 9 mil. Sold to the highest bidder. Bought 20 tokens for 352 this morning on the downswing, but then they were sold out. 352 is a good catch. Still happy I got the 20. Well, yeah, sure, yeah. Yeah, it's not a given at the moment. The scan's taking a while. Right, let's get stuff listed. Wonder if I've got time to list my pets before the event starts. I'm not sure I do. I'm wondering as well, you know, if the systems that you know, this warband system with the account-wide bank, the account-wide reagents, the account-wide currencies, the account-wide renowns. I wonder if there's going to be at any point any discussions of further merging the auction house. It's like swooped in with all of these. It's been on my mind for a couple of days. Obviously with BlizzCon yesterday, that, you know, I mean, they didn't even mention the word professions once, never mind auction house, but 10.2.5, 10.2.7 could be a prime opportunity for them to do an upgrade to the auction house. I mean, I guess there's not, if they are going to go the yearly expansion route, I guess there's not quite so much of a rush to get it done, but it's one of those big overhauls that would need to be done, you know, the patch before an expansion, because you can't drop something like that halfway through an expansion because it will just break things. I mean, the auction house was completely busted in 9.2.5 or 7 or something, I can't remember. Whenever they put the commodities region wide, it broke things for a while. You can't have that going on like on a major patch launch or something. You got to get that that's one of those kind of like maintenance things you get done and you get it out of the way. and you smooth over the bumps, and you fill in the cracks, and you make sure it works nicely, and then you launch an expansion. There's been way too many Blizzard butts over the years, so I'll wait to get excited about things until I see how they work. I'm really interested to see when we're going to get an alpha. With the theory of a fall, well, it's not a theory, but with a fall launch of the expansion, my money's on November next year. It would be somewhat realistic to expect to see an alpha at the end of January, early February. If they've been working on it as much as they claim to have been, I think we might start to see like an alpha appear early next year. Then it will go dark for a couple of months. They'll take it offline. People will go back to doing their thing. We'll probably get a 10.2.5 patch or something along those lines. And then, then there'll be, hopefully, if they do it the same as what they did with Dragonflight, a nicely structured 8 to 12 weeks of beta. Especially considering they're selling access to the beta straight away. An 8 to 12 week beta, a roadmap is what we need, yeah. A nice little cheeky roadmap wouldn't go amiss. A 2024 roadmap would be very appreciated. But I guess we'll have to see. There isn't one for 2024, by the way, at least not that we've been shown. Roadmap, just a big X on professions. Big red cross. Still salty. I think it would be smarter. It would be smarter if I was to get more into some of the other aspects of the game. To be fair, there was many years where I could quite happily plod along, keep myself busy with any of the profession stuff, bit of farming here and there, collect a few things here and there. But the reality is that if they are not going to put too much time and effort into maintaining the crafting systems, maybe I do need to start picking up and putting a bit more focus and effort into either Mythic Plus or raiding or something, or heck, even PvP. I don't know. The reality is I just don't know if I want to. Not in Dragonflight anyway. It might be it could be a conscious decision to do something like that for the new expansion, but well, thinking about it, if that is a decision to be made, it's one that should really be made by Tuesday, considering that's when the last major content patch is coming out, I suppose. Or we keep World of Warcraft ticking over nicely, and we go mess about for an entire year playing City Skylines and Factorio and Satisfactory, and we keep ourselves busy that way. That also sounds remarkably fun. Bit of rumble on the side. We got options. I sold a whole bunch more Wildvine. Not quite sure why my Wildvine is all of a sudden selling, but I'm not going to complain too much. Any sale's a sale. I don't know about you, but I'm already waning on CS2. I've not played it for like nearly a week. I can't remember the last time I logged on to City Skylines 2. But that's mostly because BlizzCon has just completely distracted me. Doesn't feel like it has a lot of replayability. Right now, it probably won't. City Skylines 2 probably won't. You'll tinker and you'll play around with, and you'll mess about with a ever so slightly growing city until it just burns itself into the ground. One thing that kept people busy with City Skylines in the first place was like beautifying everything, but that predominantly requires like a good modding scene, and obviously City Skylines 2 doesn't have that yet. The replayability of the base game is quite limited. I suspect once you surpass, you know, a couple of 100k plus cities, you might find that you're it just ends up feeling like a zoning simulator and a traffic management simulator. A lot of good games in 2023, and I hope for 2024 as well. The Horizon's good. The Horizon's pretty good, I reckon. The Horizon's good. There's lots that is on my horizon. Update 8 for Satisfactory will be when I will jump back in there, and we will have a new playthrough of that. There's a Factorio expansion probably launching, annoyingly, about the exact same time I think the World of Warcraft expansion is going to launch. I could do with the Factorio expansion coming out 6 months early. That would keep me very happy. But we'll see. In that time, we should just set ourselves a target of like 10 million gold a month or something, and see if we could make 100 million gold between now and the new expansion or something silly. Probably not too easy to achieve, but that's the point of a challenge, right? How are we doing on this? Still 40 minutes till the thing goes live. There was actually where was it? Let's go through some. Do I dare go onto Wowhead? Because if we start looking at some of the news on Wowhead have done Wowhead things over the last couple of days, and they have been headline hunting like you wouldn't believe. But if you can filter through the headlines, you might find some actual good stuff. Submit your questions for a Q&A. Might need to have a little look at that. Oh, this was the one I wanted to look at. The Warcraft Wiki Blizzcon group interview with Morgan Day. The irony is that this, I think, has more profession-related stuff being highlighted than anything else. Full interview on the website by clicking here. I think I would rather read it from the horse's mouth rather than Wowhead's adaptation of it, to be honest. So this was a Q&A that was done with Morgan Day. So why hero talents? Adding 10 points tends to break the talent tree as it has been shown in the past. Easier just to adjust knobs if they're in separate systems. Also, all 10 points will be on the same once you hit 80 for the rest of the expansion. So it's easier to have a whole kit at the end. I guess they didn't want to, if they just gave you a bunch more points, then they have to also start restricting maybe where you can put those points in already what would be perceived as complicated talent trees. I mean, it's absolute deja vu. I don't know how many other of you guys looked at these hero talents and were just like, so we're going back to that system. We had 3 rows of talents for nearly a decade. And prior to that, we had this wonderful talent tree. Now we've had a wonderful talent tree, and now we're going back to 3 rows of talent. It's just like, okay, I've seen this before. But sure. You fix the problem with a new solution that was actually the old solution, and now you're refixing the problems of that old solution with the new solution again. It's just going around in a circle. Absolutely going... Tuck Valent freeze. Yeah. Absolutely going around in a circle. You mentioned Evergreen. How much of this is going to continue going forward? Don't know how mutable, changeable that these will be in future expansions, but that is something we're looking forward to. In other words, don't hold your breath. Is this just going to be a touch of borrowed power here? It's so easy to throw buzzwords out and make people triggered. Any Classic Plus concepts like mage healing or warlock tanking in the main line? No, nothing planned. Okay, not anything of those. I mean, that pretty much puts it to bed, doesn't it? Right. Button bloat. Hero talents may add more. The cognizant of the issue is intended. Issue and intent. Who wrote this? Intent to only buttons if they're really impactful, but replacements otherwise, and stuff to play with the core fantasy within the existing kit. Hey, none of those words make sense. Hang on. They're only going to be buttons if they're really impactful. So what you're saying there is half of them are going to be passive. Okay. It might look like borrowed power, it might smell like borrowed power, but we're not calling it borrowed power, so it's not borrowed power. Yeah. Does it quack like a duck? I don't know. Okay. With War Within being announced within a saga of 3, will things like the hero talents just be with War Within, or will they be evergreen? It'll be evergreen, maybe not forever, at least for a few expansions. Same with warbands, delves, etc. I like the fact that they're not considering warbands. Considering delves is there. Delves just smells of like a patch feature. I guess we really need to see what this involves, right? Do we reckon that they've taken from Torghast, from Island Expeditions, to actually build something that could genuinely stick around for a while? Delves smell a lot like the BFA Islands. They're scenarios. I mean, the digs were like mini scenarios with a little challenge, and you get your digs were underwhelming. I'm not gonna lie. I did the digs like 3 or 4 times. I was like, is that it? Once you'd figure the thing with the digs was figuring out what the solution to the puzzle was. Once you'd finished the puzzle, there was no replayability there for me, because then you just zone in. You're like, oh, it's this puzzle. You do this, boom. The replayability wasn't there. The only reason you'd do digs again and again and again would have been if there's rewards at the end that you wanted. You'd accept your fate of repeating content to get the reward for the rep and the boulders. Yeah. They said in an interview that they want the delves to be an evergreen feature, stick around multiple expansions. Delves do build your vault counter, which means it's something you'll want to be doing again and again. It's going to be interesting to see what they actually end up being. They've clearly got like, a large amount of enthusiasm for these delves, so we will see. How will warbands work with Renown Track's account-wide reps? Currently, account-wide reps are only for War Within. Still deciding what happens for past expansion. Also known as, we will leave you in suspense and ultimately never do it. The goal is they don't want you to feel like you're at a disadvantage if you don't have alts. I don't know about this anymore. I think with the speed of leveling nowadays, now this, I don't know if this is a spicy take or not. I'm semi-convinced with the speed of leveling nowadays, a expectation of that a single player should have access to a couple of alts, I think is at this point very fair. It's fair to assume, I can't imagine there's anybody out there that has one character in Dragonflight. Surely not. Surely there can't be people who have just one level 70. No way, Sherlock, is there people who have just one level 70. I can't imagine that building the game around the expectation that people are going to have a couple of ults is a bad thing at this point. This is a fantastic mindset to have had back in vanilla, right? When it took you 60, 70, 80, the average player probably 100 hours to level from 0 to max. You then don't want to, build things in a way that you feel as if you have a disadvantage by not having those ults, because the task at hand of getting those ults is problematic. But in this sort of stuff, I don't think it really makes much difference, really. The gap between the expansions, it seems to be shorter. Can't speak to announced dates, but the team's been happy with the content cadence of late, but will hope to continue. Well, 6 month. What does that mean, though? What does that mean? Because we are 1 year into Dragonflight, and we're about to land on the 10.2 patch. That means we've had an expansion launch, a 0.1, and we're about to get a 0.2. So in essence, we've had 2 patches worth of content in 1 calendar year. If you wish to continue at that same pace, and that 10.2 is the last major patch of content, major content patch every 6 months, yeah. So November release is difficult, right? It's difficult. How can you justify a November release when June should be, if you're willing to continue the content cadence at its same original pace, June should be the launch of the expansion, but that's summer, not fall. Oh, I don't know. The schedule for things in Dragonflight has been well received, but that's from the community team. Ideally, it continues. People seem to like it. What about a 10.3? No. But there's more story to tell between 10.2 and the War Within. So no major content patch, but a 10.2.5 and then presumably a 10.2.7 with something to keep us busy, but not enough to talk about. It's kind of very... There's some contradictions here. You can't maintain the same patch cadence and then tell us it's a year before the next expansion's coming out. It doesn't work. Probably going to do a final season like in Shadowlands where they rotate through the raids again. Which leads me to wonder, why did 10.0.7 come out when it did? Because 10.0.7 was clearly like a gap filler patch. Clearly a gap filler patch. Oh, Mr. Norton with a gifted sub. Thank you very much, my man. Appreciate it. I've just realised, I apologise, my alerts have not been going off. Or maybe they have been going off, but I'm not hearing them. Why am I not hearing my alerts? Oh, I might have muted the alerts for the event yesterday. Who have I missed? Who have I missed? Mr. Norton, who got the sub? Who got the sub? Either way, make sure you say your thank yous. Appreciate the gifted. Thank you very much. We're so desperate for information, we're digging through every word of a second-hand retelling of an interview. Yeah. It's BlizzCon. This is what I meant to do. This is what you meant to do. I want to know what's going on in the next 12 months. Warband, shared bank, soulbound items. Oh, there's going to be a new item type. They're going to call it Warbound. That can be shared across the Warband. Soulbound items will still be locked to the character. Not to say that there can't be a Warbound item that also drops out of a mythic raid that looks different. Okay, so they are just in... Okay, Warbound. I guess that's a better way of having bind on account, right? That's just a better way of having bind on account. If it's warbound, it means you can use it and any of your alts can use it. But you can't sell it. This is probably something to pay attention to here. I would imagine that warbound then is something that it's not like bind on equip or bind on account. It would be like warbound is basically soulbound, but you can send it to your alts. But you also probably can't sell it, would be my guess. Soulbound items will still be locked onto the character. Yeah, that sounds like it's probably not sellable. You probably can't sell it, and I would suspect some restrictions with trading as well. Probably similar levels to restriction on trading as there is with soulbound items. Okay. Oh, that's about time they did something like that. I've been thinking that the soulbound BOE kind of is a little bit out of date at this point, it feels. How are we doing on the BlizzCon time? 20 minutes. Warbound when equipped. Stuff like mount equipment, maybe. Possibly. Maybe there's a low on the amount of players and they're trying to fill that with some patch. And that's all I can think of. Yeah, not sure. Not sure. Politicians speak lots of words, but not any actual answers. This is always the case, though, right? You know full well that there's so much stuff that they could say, but most Blizzard devs that speak publicly are very well PR trained. This is why we, out of all of the probably at this point hundreds of devs that work on this game, we probably actually only see and hear the words of like 10 of the dev team, the ones that can clearly be trusted to speak in public. Some new class customization, Tauren Demon Hunters, ? In an ideal world, it would be great to see all classes on all races, but definitely top of the mind. The goal of the class race combos is to let people express themselves, and adding more classes is coming, but nothing to announce. Fair. I think that's kind of the direction that people are wanting to go. PvP, new battleground with War Within taking place in the Ringing Deeps. Hybrid on existing map types. More info tomorrow. Oh, so there's a PvP section in the deep dive today. Then that's something we can expect to be spoke about at least some part. Also, remember that most devs probably won't want to speak in public. Oh, true. It takes a special kind of person to be both good at that job and also to be able to openly and freely talk in front of a crowd and stuff. This is why when people bash on the people on stages, sometimes you got to remember that, like, standing on a stage and talking to a room of people, some people just crumble, some people fall apart. It's not necessarily a straightforward, easy thing to do. New class race options. Oh, what about PvP titles and ranks and warbands? Philosophically, hard challenges are still character tied. So things like Gladiator, okay. Earthen can be all classes but druids, demon hunters, evokers. Also 20 to 25% bigger than other playable dwarfs. First time Horde are going to have a dwarf. True. Nothing to announce today in terms of WoW on a console. Teams have been working really hard to expand the accessibility options. Many people, including those on the team, are playing on controllers. Really? I mean, I thought that's just a bit of a meme. People are genuinely playing WoW on controllers nowadays. I mean, I know you can. I know they added controller support, but I didn't really believe anybody does. What? Maybe. Warbands and material sharing. This is important. Gold will be shared. Fuck me. Hello? What? Gold will be shared? and there'll be a Warbands bank for materials. I knew they were going to have shared currencies. I didn't realize they were going as far as gold. You're going to have account gold. Oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. This, there really isn't many reasons to not share gold across all your toons on your account. No, you're right. You're right, there isn't. What will definitely happen though, is there's some, I'm if they have all of your gold shared, it becomes significantly easier for somebody to spend all of their gold, which I think is something that they will be aware of. When you have gold on each individual one of your characters, you tend to naturally only be able to spend the gold that that character has. And you might know that your other characters have gold, but having to shuffle it all about or log on to another character and stuff actually is a step in preventing you from spending all of your gold. If you've just got everything in one big pot, and you're saving your gold's going up, you're saving your gold, and then you see something that's like, oh, boom, 100,000 gold, shiny new, I don't know, pants of awesomeness, I'll buy those. Then all of a sudden you realize you have genuinely spent all of your gold, and you've got all of these characters that need their consumables, their potions, their flasks, their flying mounts, their whatever the case may be. There's some deeper underlying psychology, but on how people will spend their gold if it's all in one shared pot, which could be quite interesting to see. There will be Warbands bank for materials. Praise RNGesus. Gold shared, but they forget to increase the gold cap. They'll probably just get rid of the gold cap, to be honest. It's pointless. There doesn't need to be a gold cap. For the most part, gold caps... Well, let's not forget, back in the day, gold caps was just a coding issue. Back when we had, like, the 32-bit client... What was, because the 214,000 gold or something, wasn't that the largest integer that could be stored? Something along those lines, right? Nowadays, the gold cap is borderline meaningless. They'll just get rid of it. They'll just get rid of it. You can just have as much gold as you can have as much gold as you want. Scam baiting the auction house with items at 400k per just got more lucrative. Always thinking. Could be true. Currency tab can be shared between the characters. There may be a lossy conversion between characters, like the way it is now. The fastest way to earn your currencies will be to play on the character that you need the currency on. Not just have your highest item level player funnel stuff to their alts. You can also craft out of the Warband reagent bank like the normal reagent bank. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. That's a crafter's dream right there. We've been looking for something like that for years. Obviously, many players have been utilizing guilds and guild banks to achieve something similar for like a localized storage. But obviously, guild banks have historically been challenging to use for materials because of the slow input and takeout speeds. Let's hope actually warband banks don't suffer with that. Let's hope because it's account. Because there's no... Let's hope because there's no external source to this bank like there is with a guild bank. Let's hope that it can make it pretty speedy and pretty responsive. So you don't have to worry about putting things in and out. Heck, why don't we, if they're going to do a new reagent bank, why don't just make it a reagent list? Boom. Why does it need to take up bank slots? You know, why can't they at this point just say, right, how many of this material do you have? Boom, number. You know, number. Take away for things like materials. I think they could probably do with just taking away the storage stack size limitations a little bit. You can have as much gold as you like. Well, I suppose you can't technically, can you? You can only have 10 million right now, but you can stack that up as much as you want. Thanks for the video guides on Rumble. Will you ever make guides on how to play Rumble on PC? I'm absolutely going to have to make a video on how to play Rumble on PC, because like every third comment is how do you play Rumble on PC. So it will be a video that I will make probably very, very soon. And I will just then be able to point people to download BlueStacks, install BlueStacks, log in to Google Play account, click on Rumble. There's not much more than that, but it does need to be a video, you're right. With Dynamic Flight coming forward, what's going to be happening with the Dragonflight talents? Dragonflight talents will stay in the Dragon Isles, but a War Within, you'll be as effective on new characters as on characters that played in the Dragonflight. No news on any new War Within Dynamic Flight talents. Okay, so they're basically renaming Dragon Riding to Dynamic Flight is in essence what's happening, but they're going to allow you to use it other places, which is cool. How are we doing on time? Let me unmute this. Okay, we'll keep that in the background. Have you guys actually got audio on this? Hang on. Was that the right one? There we go. You guys should just about be able to hear that in the background now. And more importantly, so can I. Where does it go? Where did it go? Reward structure. Are item upgrades like Dragonflight Season 2 and 3 going to carry forward? Yes, it's been pretty successful. We'll carry it forward into War Within. Delves will be a great open world source of the upgrade currency. Ho! I should get used to running these then. Okay. How's the team feeling about very rare items from raids? It's been interesting to have that chase reward, but teams have been experimenting of the degree of how impactful those items are. The goal of having a long tail item to chase has been successful. Delves being cross-faction? Yes. Good. I need to drink, boys and girls. I'll be back in 2. Okay. It was a tough decision. I looked in the fridge and it was like, do we go for beer or do we go for Monster? It was a challenging decision. But I decided after drinking some beers last night, we should stick to the Monster today. A Monster Mule, for those of you that care. My bet's going to be similar to Guild Banks to protect against, again, range conditions when logging onto two characters in the same warband. Yeah, I think they'll probably have to do something similar to the Guild Bank. My only hope is that the warband bank will just be faster. The problem for me with using Guild Banks is that if you start putting small amounts of things in and out of them, it just takes forever. It's too much like hard work. It's often quicker to buy it from the auction house and pick it up from a mailbox than it is to put it, you know, in or out of a Guild Bank. I've not had a Monster for a while, you know. This is tasty. That's... Could do with a shot of gin in that, you know. Do I have any? Hang on, boys and girls. Hang on, I've had a thought. Oh no, it's empty. Oh well, I had a thought. For a minute, but my bottle of gin's empty, so it's not happening. Drink responsibly, boys and girls. Other cross-faction... Oh, hang on. We got some funky tunes going on in the background. How are we doing it? 8 minutes. We're close, boys and girls. Let's get hammered and talk shit about Blizz all night. I did that yesterday. Yes, Monster Mule. Monster Mule. What happens in 8 minutes? The WoW deep dive. WoW deep dive. World of Warcraft deep dive. Maybe let's change the title up a little bit. Warcraft deep dive panel. Panel 1L, 1N, right? Panel. Did I miss the K-pop dancing? Because that's what I expect from BlizzCon. There better be no goddamn stupid K-pop dancing. Flipping, they copyrighted my stream yesterday because of that goddamn K-pop band. Lord have mercy. There's 6.5 hours of monetization that I will never see a penny from. So I apologise for anybody that saw an ad during yesterday's stream over on YouTube. Your money has gone into the back pockets of some flipping K-pop Andy. Twas sad. Twas mighty sad. Hang on, let me just get this in order. Okay. We're ready. Title should be updated. Should be good to go. Curious about the underground Arathi faction. We never know. We might find out. There's some PvP stuff happening. Ooh, where's the long boy being spotted? Where's the long boy being spotted? Cthulhu. That's a French realm, right? Cthulhu. Is Cthulhu a French realm? It's already max bidded, by the way, but the long boy has been spotted. Okay. If they would decide to go on Game Pass, why wouldn't they have told us yesterday? And still selling 30 days in the Epic Edition, so I doubt it. Maybe. I don't suspect that. I mean, Mr. Spencer showed his face yesterday, but there wasn't really much to come from it. Longboy drops from. Oh, it doesn't drop. It's been spotted in the black market auction house, but somebody had gold capped it already. It's not going on Game Pass anytime soon. At least WoW isn't. Ooh, I just sold some displacement boots for 10,000 gold. Oh, they cost 7,000 gold to make. Oh well, profit's profit, but profit's profit. But that's. Oh, we also sold some polar boots. Still a few things. We'll full screen this in a second anyway. It's about to go. 4 minutes. 4 minutes, boys and girls. 4 minutes. You might end up seeing basically all the other IPs on Game Pass, though. Well, I think, yeah, the subscription is probably the only thing that sort of complicates the thing for WoW. And they're clearly not willing to let go of the subscription. So, yeah. I mean, it doesn't make a vast amount of difference, really, but it's one of those, right? If you spend $69 billion buying ABK, you probably are quite confident that whatever was going on in the first place is good enough. Maybe there isn't any need for, like, too aggressive integrations or anything. I mean, because imagine if it just all goes wrong, you know. Diablo 4, WoW, newest cards. The monthly sub for WoW is more than the Game Pass sub. There's basically no way that any bean counter would let WoW onto the Game Pass. Well, it could be 50% of the justification for going for charging you the same amount of money for the expansion, yet releasing them yearly instead of 2 yearly. If that, you know, because you could basically pay €50 for 2 years worth of an expansion and then pay your subscription, right? But if you're keeping the subscription the same and you're releasing new expansions and in turn asking for another chunk of cash every year instead of every 2 years, that's, you know, it's not that big of an increase, but it's a big enough of an increase I can see why people would be annoyed by it. I think the biggest problem, and this was pointed out earlier, it's the biggest problem in households where, you know, multiple people play the game. The upfront cost for the expansion is, you know, if you're buying 2 or 3 copies of it, it becomes a lot. You know, it's not cheap. Anyway, looks like we're up and running, boys and girls. Let's full screen you. Let's give you some beans. I'm going to turn off the on-screen chat, by the way, boys and girls, because as you may have seen in today's video, I'm likely to take some of the footage from this, so let's give it some beans.
Blizzcon 2023 would like to thank our partners.
Oh, flipping thanking the partners.
Omen, Game Life, Xbox, Power Your Dreams,
Right, let's go. Deep dive time. Deep dive.
Mountain Dew Game Fuel Mystic Punch. Redeem points for gaming rewards and exclusive items in Diablo 4.
No.
NVIDIA GeForce
Monster
RTX
Mule,
40
much
series
better.
and NVIDIA Reflex. The highest FPS and lowest latency on PC.
Right, put your
Secret
phone on
Lab,
silent.
award-winning comfort engineered to support your every move. Experience the ultimate performance gaming seat. HyperX. We're all gamers.
Right. Oh, I didn't get any snacks this time. Oh, I've missed a trick. Right, let's get ready. Let's get ready.
Welcome back, Blizzcon. We're starting the day off right. Here's the World of Warcraft Deep Dive.
Dun dun dun. The man, the myth, the legend.
Good afternoon, BlizzCon.
What
So good to be
sword?
back. Whether you are here in the arena with me right in front of me, whether you're watching from elsewhere in the halls, whether you're joining us from the comfort of your home, thank you for taking the time to join me
Deep
for
delve.
this deeper, closer look at what's coming next in the war within. I love you too. I love you, BlizzCon. So Morgan and Maria gave you kind of a sneak peek at some of what's coming. Today I want to spend a bit more time giving you more information on the core features of War Within, as well as a few things that didn't get mentioned at all yesterday. So, beginning, just a little teaser there. So to begin, let's talk delves. So what is a delve? As you heard yesterday, delves are these quick bite-sized epic adventures for flexible-sized groups, for either solo or with up to 5 players. They are role agnostic, so it doesn't matter if you're a couple DPS, if you're a healer and a tank, if you're a solo healer, we're gonna make it work. We're gonna meet you where you are, how you want to play. Delves are a new endgame pillar. This is a permanent addition to World of Warcraft going forward and represents kind of a capstone
A fifth
to
pillar?
the outdoor world experience. We've had dungeons, we've had raids, we've had organized PvP, and I think we've had some stuff for outdoor world players to dabble in. But if you wanted progression,
Done
if
me
you
dirty.
wanted goals, if you wanted a deeper, more structured experience, frankly, we were letting you down. We want to change that. That's what delves represent in World of Warcraft.
Rip crafting. There is no fourth pillar.
So structuring this, really we want to approach it as something that you are going to be engaging in all season long with variety and flexibility in how you approach it, and the replayability of the content is kind of a mainstay of what it's all about. But also want to build in progression. And I think if you're an outdoor world focused player, a lot of the time it's just about kind of spending your time doing a thing, going to a place, completing an event, but there aren't necessarily goals to work towards. There aren't necessarily reasons to be excited about getting an item upgrade because it's going to let you do something you haven't been able to do before. A difficulty progression built into delves is going to enable us to offer that. Now, there's a lot of lessons we've learned over the years from building this type of content, whether it was Torghast in Shadowlands, Island Expeditions, scenarios, you can throw in Horrific Visions in that list. We've learned a lot about how to tune these sorts of experiences, how to design them for flexible scaling groups of different sizes, of different role compositions, about what's fun and what isn't. But we've also learned, based on your feedback, about what not to do in some cases, in terms of how we structure it, how we present it. I think a key aspect of saying this is an endgame pillar is that it's an offering in parallel to the others, to dungeons, to raids. If you want to do this, if this is your jam, if this is your type of gameplay, we're there for you, and we want this to be as deep as you want it to be. If you're happy running Mythic Plus and you just want to focus on that, we're not looking to add another item to the checklist of things you feel you have to do to compete. It's an alternative. Unlike Torghast, which is something that we did kind of say, everyone has to do this, whether you like it or not, whether you'd rather do something else or not.
Flipping
That gets back
dust.
to some of the philosophies that Morgan touched on yesterday and how we're approaching designing and evolving World of Warcraft. We want to meet you where you are. We want to respect your time. We want to offer you the ability to choose how you want to spend that time each day, each night in Azeroth.
Island Expeditions, Torghast, similar. Hey, it's Preach!
So in terms of the character of delves and what a specific one will be like, The vibe here is about unraveling mysteries, it's about exploring, it's about feeling like an extension, a seamless extension of the outdoor world experience. These are not dungeons. Every dungeon is ultimately about killing a series of bosses or boss-like encounters, and the dungeon is over when you kill the final baddest boss at the end of the dungeon. And that's kind of the structure that they all have to conform to. As much as we try to vary the formula a bit, that's pretty much what they're going to be. In the outdoor world, things are a bit different. We can, break some more of the rules. And really, at the end of the day, the one consistent thing about delves is that they're all going to end with a room full of those. Will have a final boss guardian in front of them. Others, you may be, just exploring, traversing the delve, flipping switches, solving a puzzle, defeating lieutenants, gathering things that you need to open the vault door. We can vary the gameplay, we can vary the feel of the experience. These are going to be instanced experiences, but they are seamless. When you walk up to, this, as I'll show in a second, a fog door at the entrance to a cave, at the entrance to a structure, you're just going to walk in, no loading screen, and now you're in a delve. We want to make sure this really feels like part of and an extension of the outdoor world.
Sounds good so far.
Now, as part of an in-game pillar, that means we're going to tie this into seasons. So, as well as a narrative progression over the course of a given season, there will be increasing rewards, increasing difficulty, and a change of pace, whether you're in Season 1 of War Within, Season 2, and so forth. Part of that is going to be the NPC companion that will be accompanying you on your adventures. The Season 1 companion, as we mentioned yesterday, is our good friend, Bran Bronzebeard. Now, what does this mean? What does a companion mean in practice? Well, it's a few things. One, it's a narrative hook. It gives us a chance to help give context for your adventures, kind of narrate what you're going through. But also, it's a chance to kind of play with the mechanics and complement your play style. As Bran adventures with you, you might find some gear for Bran. You might be able to gear Bran up. You'll be able to spec him and customize his abilities to complement what you or your friends are bringing to the group, whether you want more survivability, whether you want help with someone to tank, whether you want more control. This can help us balance the experience as well and give you another vector for your progression over the course of the journey. Now, I know this has kind of been very high level. I want to just give a couple of specific examples of kind of a day in the life of someone jumping into delves in War Within. So let's say you are casually journeying across the Isle of Dorne and its pastoral beauty, and you come across this structure with that fog door set into it, and you decide to venture in. So as you venture in, you are, as I mentioned, seamlessly in the delve, and you will find, just huddled inside the entrance, a group of expedition scouts who have come to this place. They've heard reports of great secrets, great treasures, powerful relics stored within, but they've been unable to proceed further because they tell you, and Bran is among them, mind you, they tell you this place, there's an unnatural, there's a disturbing darkness that has settled over this entire vault, and we can't proceed. Fortunately, they have in their possession a relic that they have brought that is an enchanted candle that can light the way. It has a little light radius around it. If you think back to the Vault of the Warden's dungeon, if you remember that in Legion, what the basement was like, where it really felt like just like a dark, scary place, but you could have this beacon in the darkness to guide your way, you have one of those. But, they tell you, it has very limited fuel. They dare not proceed on their own because they worry they're just going to get trapped in the darkness and destroyed by the terrors within. But you, of course, being the champion who's come along, you're up to the task. So you take that candle with its light radius that will begin to shrink progressively as your limited fuel burns, and you take some steps into the delve. Now, who do you find in here? Well, as it happens, you run across fellows like this guy. More jacked than your average kobold, but there's a lot of kobolds in here. And as you know, as any World of Warcraft player knows, where you find kobolds, you're going to find candles. And this guy's going to put up a fight, but it being World of Warcraft and all, you're going to take his candle. And you're going to take the candles of his allies and his brethren. And, that will help fuel this magic light that you have, help keep the light burning so that you can traverse the entire delve, defeat a couple of lieutenant-type enemies, bosses, solve a puzzle or two, and at the end, You make your way into the vault room that Brad is able to open once you bring him there, and you find this mock-up, work in progress of a treasure room, heaping with riches, treasure chests of various shapes and sizes. Some of the smaller ones, you can just walk up and open, collect a range of items, currency, rewards, you name it. But you'll find a couple of extra large, resplendent chests in this room. Those may require special keys to open. Now, those keys you would obtain from doing kind of outdoor content, weekly quests. They're a bit more limited in how you can get them, but also allow us to offer and pace out the best rewards. They're on par with some other endgame content to make sure it's not, infinitely grindable or anything like that, but it's an extension of your outdoor world loop if this is your playstyle. Now, let's say you come back to the same delve on another day. You might find that there isn't a magical darkness settled over the place. Instead, there are earthen locked in battle with kobolds, and you can help turn the tide of that fight as you work your way through, dealing with some different challenges along the way. Variety, replayability, lots of layers to the experience. Now, so you venture back out into the zone, heading off to a different corner of it, and you come across this cave surrounded by mushrooms. It's known in legends as fungal folly. Now, maybe not being the wisest adventurer, that sounds like a great place to enter, so you take a few steps forward. In here, you might find an environment where, whether it's due to unusual ores or whatever in the walls, the rules of gravity are a bit topsy-turvy. And you'll find mushrooms scattered around the cave that you can use as basically jump pads to help navigate the environment, to skip over enemies you want to avoid, to reach high up ledges that you couldn't otherwise get to. You're starting to get the idea, like, this is more the world as toy vibe that we try to play with when we're creating outdoor events, outdoor spaces. These are not mechanics you'd necessarily find in a dungeon, but I think the team really is unshackled, is freed to explore a much wider array of gameplay when we're building delves. So let's talk a bit more about the loot. So actually, before we talk about the loot, these are the 12 delves that we currently have planned, scattered throughout the 4 zones, each themed around the ecologies, each themed around the settings that you're going to find.
2, 3 in
now,
each
some
zone.
of the attentive among you may be saying, wait a minute, Morgan's slide said there were 13 delves yesterday. He might be right, but there also might be a secret delve that you have to explore a bit more to discover that awaits you. So yeah, loot. Part of being a seasonal pillar means going to the Great Vault every week and getting to share in that disappointment that your raiding and dungeon playing brethren have also had the pleasure to enjoy. We just want to make sure you don't feel left out. So you're welcome. So you'll note this isn't a delves row, this is a world row. And really that is enshrining these 3 PvE pillars: raids, dungeons, world. You'll be able to unlock some of these slots doing select outdoor world activities, as well as, of course, delves with better rewards from higher difficulty delves. Our thinking in terms of the rewards here, this is all subject to tuning, is that this should reach to, let's say, end boss heroic raid,
PvP,
mythic 10 to 15 type range, accessible just via solo progression. Far better loot than you've ever been able to get before. And now, I'm sure this is, I know this is the delve section, but I'm sure there's folks looking at this and being like, wait a minute, what about the PvP row? Don't worry, we got you. We are removing the PvP row from the vault.
Profession row.
We're doing that based largely on feedback that we've heard that randomness and PvP gearing maybe are not the best combination. I know it took a few years to get that message through to us. So the way this is going to work is instead, you're going to get a whole lot more conquest. You're going to gear up at the same rate overall, but you will have complete control over your gearing path, just spending your conquest on the items that you want. With easier catch-up, if you come in late in the season, you don't have to worry about having missed certain vault weeks. Also, if you're someone who PvPs a lot and you raid, you don't have the awkward choice of that raid trinket versus the PvP item that's going to help your arena partners. So,
who would have thought? Homogenized gearing system, maybe not the best.
hopefully, just good news for everyone. Now, aside from, just power, also, you get silly hats. Nothing more to say here. These just... These are just a few examples of the array of cosmetic rewards that will be exclusive to delves, reflecting the varied ecologies and environments you're going to be facing. So, silly hats, World of Warcraft. Less silly, just
Hey, that looks
as,
cool.
let's say, Mythic Plus players have amounts that they can earn over the course of a given season, this customizable flying mount will be exclusively available through thorough completion of the delve experience. You'll note the customizability of it. This will be customizable the same way you can customize your current dragon riding drakes at the rostrum.
Engineers are making those parts.
Modularly.
I'm telling you. They better be. Screams engineering.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I love our artists. Okay, up next, warbands. I feel like I could probably just save 10 minutes of this panel by just saying account-wide everything and just click through the next slides.
Woohoo! Do it! Dare ya.
Kind of that. So, I don't know if you guys know this, but turns out y'all play a lot of alts. I'm sure that actually the number of characters per person in this room in particular is like some insane average. But the average WoW player today plays multiple characters. The two-thirds of players who have a level 70 have multiple level 70s. Half of players have 3 or more. Most people are playing multiple characters a week. And that's not something the game, it's no secret, has always done the best job of supporting. Now, part of that is because World of Warcraft 20 years ago was built with very different assumptions. And I both mean design-wise, but actually engineering-wise as well. The infrastructure and the architecture that was built. Back then, it took hundreds of hours to level a single character, of course, and playing all seriously.
I literally said this earlier this stream.
Far from the norm. But we've kind of inherited, we have been working with those foundations to this day. And so when we get requests for them, when we talk about alt friendliness, we try to do it, but we're often working against, we're swimming upstream, given the underpinnings of a system that were never designed for this. And that's why you get some, frankly, pretty clunky solutions. Like, well, if you want to transfer this currency to your alt, go to a vendor and spend some to buy a different box that contains account-bound currency that you can then mail to yourself, log out, log back in, take the box out of your mailbox, and open it on your alt. Congratulations, you have moved 300 supplies. Elegant design, ladies and gentlemen. What if we didn't have to do that? So at its core, warbands is, what if we just rebuilt those foundations and created a new future, both for the things we want to offer today and the things we'll be able to in the future, so we're not fighting against the nature of the system, but instead it complements what we want to do. Now the focus here is really making it convenient, removing barriers, removing awkwardness in playing alts. We don't want to actively necessarily encourage it. People already want to do it if they do it. One thing the system is not going to be is something that awards you power or makes your main more effective because you have done things on other characters or anything along those lines. If you want to play alts, do so. If you just love focusing on a single character, that shouldn't feel wrong either. Now let's talk about some examples.
I can see gold numbers. That's void storage in disguise.
They're mostly fairly straightforward. It's a bank. It's an account-wide bank. Thankfully, hopefully, you should never again have to mail something to yourself. You also might notice, and so this is giant, lots of storage, extra tabs that can be purchased on the right-hand side, so multiple tabs of these. You can organize them as you want. The very
For the low cost of $9.99.
Checkbox mentioning reagents. If you deposit reagents here, you can craft from the account-wide storage on any of your characters.
Happy.
Next up, maybe a little new thing. Something that you might put in this account-wide storage.
Warbound until equipped.
We will now have to create warbound items that are warbound until equipped. You might get an item that you can't sell in the auction house or trade, but that you can give to any of your other characters for their use.
How does that benefit single player and
these items would
can't
drop
sell it.
as bonus personal loot from doing a variety of content. They would drop at a slightly lower item level than what that content would normally give you. Again, we want to make sure the right way to play is not playing on multiple characters to funnel loot to your main to gear up your main faster, but just easy potential hand-me-downs, ways of getting an alt caught up, maybe even an excuse to level an alt if you get a really cool item for a class that you haven't had a chance to get up yet. So just an extra layer here, hopefully making it easier than ever to progress, to accomplish your goals on multiple characters. All right, now quick rundown of some of the other integrations we have planned. Transmog. Transmog has always been, it's been for a long time an account-wide collection. Key thing here now that really it is being acquired by your warband. That means that now if you were running, let's say, Ulduar on your mage and a pair of plate shoulders drop, you can still add those plate shoulders to your warband collection.
All the people clapping right now have installed all the things.
And then, if you log on your warrior later, your warrior can equip them, you're good to go. Hopefully you don't need to feel like you need to refarm the same stuff on as many different armor types anymore. Reputations, again, fairly straightforward.
How does that do with soulbound?
Reputations and renowns will work account-wide. We want to make this as retroactive as possible. That will take some work over time. We're probably going to start with Dragonflight renowns as a focus and a priority and work our way backwards. But going forward, we want progress earned on reputations to not really matter which character you're doing it on. At the end of the day, it's the same content, it's the same experience. If you've gained access to some perk or some recipe, having to re-earn it, not terribly compelling.
He said recipes. He said recipes, boys and girls.
Here's a really light example, a simple one, just flight paths. As you explore the world, you learn flight paths, you discover flight paths. Is it terribly compelling to have to go back to a spot that you've already been to in multiple characters just to learn a flight path for the 4th time? No. If you have a flight path network unlocked, you have that unlocked across your warband going forward.
No more maps.
And here's an example of something new, just delves. An example of how having this as a foundation means that we can build new systems to inherently work at an account-wide level, just kind of as part of their DNA. As you are advancing Bran as a companion, as you are empowering him, as you're customizing him, again, logging on to a different character and going back to having a weaker Bran that doesn't offer the tools that you've grown accustomed to, that's more frustrating than fun to re-earn those things. Let's make that progression inherently warband level, inherently account-wide.
This all sounds good so far.
And achievements. We've had account-wide achievements for a long time. No secret, they have the little blue bar over them, indicating that they function at an account-wide level. What Warbands allows us to do is kind of invert that paradigm
never knew that.
and change the vast majority of our achievements to be account-wide, to have that actually be the new default. So if you do part of this PvP or crafting or other achievement on one character, part of it on another, your warband can earn the achievement. Once your warband earns it, you've earned it. Again, you, the player, are doing the thing.
Nice.
Oh yeah, and then this.
Level 13 Drakthir, by the way. Level 13 Drakthir also looks like a druid.
Signal this shift up front. There's no mechanical functionality here, but just in terms of presentation, what you'll see when you log into World of Warcraft with multiple characters is a selection of your favorite characters huddled around a campfire or another setting. You'll still have your fullest accessible,
my bad.
But we want to make it clear that you, the player, have this cast of characters that if you want to dress them all up in consistent transmogs, go wild. One thing you might note here, if you're very eagle-eyed, also by the way, if you're very eagle-eyed, don't read too much into things like the evoker wearing leather. It's internal mock-ups. We're not changing anything crazy there.
You got me.
But you will note that the evoker is level 13. That's going to be a thing that's possible because they'll start at level 10. But because Dragonflight's going to be the new leveling expansion, by the way, going forward. One thing you might notice is there isn't really much here about realm selection. Warbands are a realm-agnostic, faction-agnostic feature. You will just see all your characters here. If they're on different servers, we'll make it clear that they're on different servers. But you shouldn't have to go to the change realm screen and swap around. They're just all here.
Oh, thank God.
Okay. Hero talents.
All 60 characters.
So, at their core, this is a chance for us as we continue to evolve and advance our class system, to explore some deeper class fantasies, to look at iconic archetypes like the Farseer or the Dark Ranger or the Mountain King, or others often inspired by major heroes in the Warcraft universe, other times by fantasies that we've heard are really resonant with players, and focus the continued expansion of our classes in that space. Now, Morgan said this yesterday, just to restate, this is a completely flexible system. It's as flexible as your current talents and specs. Nothing like covenants or anything like that. Anytime you could change your talents today,
Definitely
you can
not
change your hero
covenant.
specs, you can swap around your hero talents. They're just talents. Now, some of our goals here, of course, we want to offer progression, but we want to do so, frankly, while managing complexity to a certain extent. When we started planning for War Within, we knew, all right, we're going to raise the level cap by 10. 10 new levels means 10 new talent points. The kind of default option for us would have been to take the existing class and spec trees and just add a couple more rows to each of them, add new points to spend. But we've been down that path before. We know exactly where that leads 15 years ago. There's a tremendous amount, there's an insane amount of multiplicative combinatorial complexity from adding those additional options. And it also destroys some carefully constructed choices that are really successful that we've just built up in Dragonflight today, where you can't quite have all of these things and need to pick one or the other. Suddenly, when you can get all of them, it can lead towards homogeneity as well. So this approach allows us to both explore deeper class fantasy while focusing the decision space in a way that offers power without that excessive complexity. So the way it's generally going to look is a third talent tree. Again, as mentioned yesterday, at the center of your screen, you have class, you have talent, and in the middle, you have hero talents. You'll note, so there are 10 nodes. There's an initial node that you get as a starter node at the top that you'll get initially when you unlock the system at 71, and then 10 more nodes to unlock. You will get all of them on the way to 80. At level 80, you will have this fully unlocked, similar to Legion artifacts, let's say. So you don't have to agonize over where you're placing any choice along the way. Now, the choices that you will make are which hero spec do you want active? And also, there will be choice nodes within the trees, just as the class trees and the talent and the spec trees currently have, which you can toggle, adding quite a few permutations to the system as a whole. If you want, as a kind of simpler collapsed view, once you've hit max level, you can just condense it down to only show the choice nodes for easy swapping back and forth to customize your spec for whatever activity you're setting out to do. Now, I want to take a little bit of time to quickly walk through a couple of trees to give a sense of the sorts of things you might find in here. And all of this is subject to change, all subject to iteration, and the extensive feedback we know we're going to get. I'm going to use druids a lot as an example here. I'm going to focus on the case of a balanced druid. Part of why the team starts with druids is because y'all are complicated. We figure there's 4 specs,
Druids
3
are very
roles.
complicated.
We figure let's try some of the hardest cases first when proving out a design. It's nothing against the mages, warlocks, paladins, etc. But there's a reason why you probably tend to see more druid examples than other classes, because we figure if we can make it work for druids, the rest will be okay. The 2 options available to a balanced druid are this Keeper of the Grove tree and Elun's Chosen. Keeper of the Grove is available to balance and restoration. Elun's Chosen is available to balance and guardian. The former focuses on calling the forest to your aid, on summoned treants, and augmenting their abilities and what using that cooldown means for your gameplay. Elun's Chosen focuses on augmenting your lunar abilities, many of the arcane damage, moon-themed abilities for both specs. So let's look at the Keeper of the Grove tree first. The first node that you're going to get as you just opt in is just kind of a baseline improvement to your throughput while treants are out across the board. This just kind of emphasizes thematically what this tree is about and makes pushing that button, having the treants out, more important to you in every regard. Some of the nodes in these trees are just going to be simple, straightforward passives. Not everything is going to double and triple down on the same treant ability. Some will, like this, regardless of what spec you are, make your treants add additional damage. Oh, by the way, if anyone's worried, wait a minute, but what about the auto taunt? That's a mess in dungeons. We'll let you opt out of that. Don't worry. Or passives could just augment your abilities, your resource pool, and just make you a better druid. Okay. An example of choice node, again, this can be about doubling down on and getting more out of having the treants active. Or maybe you really don't want all of your eggs in that basket. Even though you are going into this tree, you want the treants to be important to you, you don't want 100% of your throughput to be focused in that window. You'd rather just have some baseline improvements to all of your abilities, or to some of your core abilities. This is one of the simpler choices available, but the idea is 4 different opportunities to nudge your gameplay in one direction or another within this tree. A capstone talent, again, is often likely to double down on and amplify what the initial point was, just reinforcing that having the treants out is going to be a peak, a spike in your potential, something that you're going to plan around, and just amplify the overall benefits that you're achieving from that. Now, pivoting to Elun's Chosen, again, this is lunar themed and shared with Guardian Druids. So the first point here is going to call out 3 specific signature abilities to balance 1 Guardian and make them meaningfully more impactful to your gameplay. If you're a Guardian Druid, for example, you might read this and realize that, like Lunar Beam is going to become a pretty powerful defensive cooldown, especially in dungeons. You have a big pull going on. You're leeching a lot of damage back from what you're doing. This is now something that you can really count on and plan around as you approach your gameplay. On the Moonkid side, this, of course, adds an extra layer to planning and throughput in your rotation. Noting a couple of these things that we're modifying, maybe deeper optional talents in your existing spec trees. We also, where we can, want to offer ways to make sure that you can trigger those effects, even if you don't have the baseline talent, though you'll probably want to as well.
Still
so
no buttons.
This talent just has Fury of Elune triggered as you're doing your regular rotation when you Moonfire, both just naturally. It's a powerful effect that's going to fire more frequently, but also to the extent that the rest of the Elun's Chosen tree is tying into it, you'll get those benefits as well. A couple of more passive examples here. Again, just doubling down on magnifying your arcane lunar throughput, and a final capstone ability for this tree that is further reinforcing these core that have already been augmented. We'll leave this slide up for a while. These are our current plans for all 39 of the hero specs, so 1 per current specialization. There's some cool fantasies here to explore. Definitely really curious to hear community feedback on all of these, which are exciting, which are most resonant, which sound, frankly, maybe a bit lame.
Nobody needs to see
Are
Druids
there any
anymore.
that you hoped you'd see on here that you're not seeing on here? We are well underway building these out, but it's definitely early enough for us to pivot on a lot of these if there's something the community is really excited about. I want to triple
Leader
super
Hunter.
underscore.
Yes,
The
please.
example talents I just gave are work in progress, very subject to change. Probably no part of the game is more prone to iteration, and for no part of the game is the community input more essential than class design, spec design. To that end, when we move into our alpha, probably in the spring, we want to have as many, if not all of these hero specs playable from the start.
March, April.
So that we have the entire alpha and beta window to iterate on them, to replace the things that aren't working, to dial them all in to where everyone's going to be excited about what they're getting in War Within. It's a long road ahead. We can't wait to share that journey with you and really just collaborate, discuss back and forth every step of the way. All right. Now some other stuff. Some you've heard about, some you haven't. First off,
Buckle in, boys and girls. Buckle in.
Aladris, you get to be an Earthen. Awesome blinged out dwarves, or maybe not so blinged out if you want to customize them differently. These are going to be earned just by playing through the War Within campaign fully. There's no rep to grind here, nothing else beyond that. You are
Have an Earthen.
You are meeting the Earthen as, it's a first contact in essence. You're going to learn about the nature of their problems, the nature of their culture.
Christmas-like
You're going to
blend.
work with them to overcome those problems, win their trust. And at the end of that journey, it will make sense. It will be a natural next step for them to lend you their aid and join you as either Horde or Alliance. So yes, Horde dwarves. We haven't yet finalized what their racial abilities are going to be, but the available classes, 10 out of the 13 available classes. Everything but Druid, Demon Hunter, and Evoker. Now on the right side here, you see a concept of the Heritage Armor you'll be able to earn from leveling your Earthen to max level. All right, Dynamic flight.
People like some dragon riding.
So it was obvious very early on in Dragonflight, probably before Dragonflight even released in beta, that we could never go back to how it used to be. Honestly, we hoped that would be the outcome. We hoped the feedback would be, this is so awesome, we just want this to be how flying works forever. But we immediately began, making plans for what that would mean, because, it's the only way to go. And so, dragon riding is going to become the default, no longer just dragons, but dynamic flight now in War Within and beyond. We want to make sure. Oh, weird. I meant to have 2 mounts here, but I only see Ashes on the right. But anyway, the key point being, we want to expand this to the broader array of mounts that you have available. I think the only downside of dragon riding, as it exists today, is that you don't have much reason to use so many of the mounts that are your favorites visually, aesthetically, that you've earned and done so much to collect. You want to make sure that as much of your collection is viable as possible. So not every single flying mount is going to be able to support dynamic flight. There's some animation logistics to work with there, but as many as we can. It's a 3-digit number. We want a very wide array of mounts being able to just fly the way you've always enjoyed with your dragons.
100 plus. 100 plus.
And just to clarify, this is the future of flying. So everywhere that you can fly
so
today,
get used to it.
You'll be able to dynamically fly or dragon ride. In fact, not just in the War Within, a little sneak peek, I think in our upcoming 10.2.5 update, you'll be able to dragon ride in Eastern Kingdoms, Kalimdor, Northrend, Outland, you name it.
Oh, cool. 10.2.5. Nice.
We also understand there are some folks, for accessibility reasons, personal preference reasons, maybe you just like being able to AFK in midair, that dragon riding isn't your favorite. We don't want to take anything away. We want to let
TBC
all these mounts
flying.
that can currently do the old school flying mode toggle between dragon riding or let's call it TBC flying. Up to you, whatever you prefer. And again, to be clear, dynamic flight will be available from the very start when you go to Kazalgar and the Isle of Dorn, just as it was in Dragonflight.
Don't take away our flying again.
Old school TBC flying, Pathfinder style, will not be available right away, but it will be unlocked shortly after reaching max level with no reputation grind requirements. Just play through the campaign, explore the continents, then you can fly that way as well.
Day 1 Pathfinder.
The existing dragon riding glyph system in the Dragon Isles, we want to pivot that to a bit more of something that's evergreen. Some of those unlocked traits may change to only work within the Dragon Isles. Others that are more essential to just the experience feeling good, like vigor increases, regenerates, the active abilities, are just going to be things that you will inherently get as you earn dynamic flight and level up naturally. We don't want down the line players to feel like they have to go back to an old expansion and fly around and collect a bunch of glyphs just to be able to explore the new expansion. And in that vein, this is going to be the new default for leveling players. I mentioned earlier, when War Within comes out, instead of BFA, Dragonflight will be the new leveling experience that you merge into as a new player after you leave Exile's Reach. And so you're going to get dragon riding very early in that experience. As you just level up, gain player levels, you will improve your flight ability and get all the vigor perks and everything else that everyone has come to expect. And that's just going to be how the game works as a baseline. This is what flight is now. Don't worry, PvPers, we haven't forgot you. This is long overdue.
What about Goldmakers?
We should have been doing this earlier. So there's a new battleground coming in War Within. It is a 10v10 map set in the Ringing Deeps. This is inspired by Silver Shard Mines with a few twists. The Ringing Deeps are a place that's full of natural resources, that's very sort of thing that the Horn Alliance will be likely to skirmish over. I'm going to show you a very rough, early, kind of like top-down mock-up of the layout here. The idea is, unlike Silver Shard Mines, which is radial symmetry, this is more mirrored and reflects the two sides trying to both push their own minecarts to collect resources while also fighting over a pivotal central control point that's going to change the outcome and the momentum of the match. This is something that the team has actually been playtesting internally a bunch over the last couple of weeks, having a blast with. When we make battleground maps, we don't really artify them. We keep them really rough, which is why I don't have any good images to show just yet, because it really is all about the layout. There's no point in making it look pretty if the spacing isn't correct, if the exact paths aren't correct. That's going to be the next step. Can't wait to get this in front of everybody to start testing in alpha and beyond. And this isn't just a one-off. We want to keep adding new battleground maps going forward. This is an essential part of the game. And I mentioned 10v10, but we are just about to undertake a little 8v8 solo queue RBG experiment in 10.2 in a week or two. So depending on how that goes, you may be experiencing this one 8v8 as well. So stay tuned. Otherwise, we have a few ongoing interface updates that we're continuing to work on. In Dragonflight, we overhauled the HUD, the action bars, the unit frames, the baseline UI experience. We made it clear at the time that that was just the beginning. This is something we want to continue chipping away at, updating different pieces of the UI to be more streamlined, better reflective of the modern gameplay experience. So just a couple of examples here. So the spellbook, we are looking to modernize, update, actually make use of more than like a 1024 by 768 monitor resolution. Ideally, you're not going to have to flip through multiple pages to find some ability that's not on your action bars. Also, we're combining this with our talent screen. If you look at the tabs at the bottom, you have spec, talents, and spells all in one place. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for all the things that your character has available, rather than having two separate windows that you need to move between.
Now you can click from your book.
Some light updates here. I think improving the overall aesthetic of the quest log, the quest window. If this is harder to show off just in a single screenshot, but we are adding a bunch of filters to allow you to hide and show different objectives, to see more quests available at once, to filter your log for the things you care about most. We also have a full pass in progress on our quest iconography to make it easier to differentiate between daily and weekly quests and remove our reliance on just shades of color as much as we do, which really it is a color blindness issue for the range of quest bangs where the only difference is what color it is. And again, this is just a couple of examples of ongoing efforts. This is a project that will never be done. We're just going to continue improving and updating different aspects of the UI as we go. Yes.
With a sneak
this
peek
one
of the
basically
next
speaks
slide.
for itself. I've mentioned earlier, your warband is a cross-realm construct. Increasingly, so many of the activities that players engage in socially span multiple realms. You have a raid group, you have a Mythic Plus group that you run with, group that you PvP with, but you can't be in the same guild together. Not any longer. That's a thing that will change when War Within comes out. Apply, recruit, server shouldn't matter when it comes to joining a guild, when it comes to being in a guild, when it comes to accessing the perks of being in a guild.
Ooh, streamer guilds. They will be big. And you could be anywhere. That's
and
cool.
People may be wondering, wait a minute, what does that mean if now guilds are cross-realm? What about Mythic raiding? If your guild is cross-realm and your guild wants to raid Mythic, you should be able to do that day one. So no more realm restrictions there. The Hall of Fame will still exist, just kind of as a memorial of accomplishment, but it's not going to be tied to unlocking anything anymore. That's just there day one. And really, just philosophically, this is another step towards one of our goals of just tearing down barriers, making the game as social as possible, making it as easy as possible to play with who you want to play with, regardless of your server, regardless of your faction. As much as possible, if you want to play WoW with somebody, let's make that happen.
You get a car, and you get a car.
All right, so that brings us to the end of this whirlwind tour / deep dive of War Within features. I know there's still a bunch of questions, a bunch more information to share. Can't wait to do that in the coming days and weeks. But to begin, I'd like to invite everybody, if you have questions, if you're here at Blizzcon, go to the Darkmoon Fair in Hall D. You can drop off questions there. If you're if you're going online, you can go to the WoW or WoW Classic subreddits or our official forums and either ask your questions there or upvote others. This coming week, when we get back to the office, we're going to huddle, review the top questions, and record streams
Choose which
for
ones
both
they're not
Classic
gonna
and for
answer.
War Within, addressing the top questions to try to get as much information out there as possible. So. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited to begin this journey together with you. Can't wait for the War Within. Enjoy the rest of BlizzCon. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. I love you all.
Well, well, well. Well, 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 well. Not really much of a surprise. Hang on, I can probably turn my microphone up a little bit more now. No real surprise that the Rest in Peace fourth pillar. In fact, it's not even Rest in Peace fourth pillar, is it? It's literally been replaced. I'm like, oh yeah, what's this fourth pillar that has got this rotting piece of flesh on it? Let's scrape that off. Puh! Let's put this new thing on this pedestal. Okay, well, it never really existed to begin with. Professions. We're just the flat Earth theory, aren't we? This is what it is. This is all it is. Shame. What's the fourth pillar? Forgive my ignorance. Well, going into Dragonflight, Ian Hazacostas himself was quoted as saying he would like professions and crafting to become the fourth pillar of play in World of Warcraft. After Mythic Plus, raiding, and PvP, he wanted you to care that much about crafting as being your fourth pillar and becoming a specialist in your craft. And now we've been replaced. It's sad. Boo, we've been replaced. Oh, well, it was always going to happen, wasn't it? It was always going to happen. But we did get some info. We did get a few little bits and pieces about the warbands. The warbands have, to a degree, I think the warbands have caused more questions than answers. Obviously, it looks like if all your characters are going to be part of your warband, you don't make a warband. Your account is your warband. This is in essence what it is. It's not like a new version of a guild. All of your characters, all of your alts are automatically part of a warband, right? So you will then have a dedicated storage space for war-bound items, of which you can then put in your warband bank. This is going to get difficult to say, isn't it? You are, interestingly, then going to have some restrictions on items that you pick up and collect, in such that you will, you might find a war-bound piece of gear which you can put in your war-bound bank for an alt to take out and claim and use. And then there was that slide, wasn't there? War-bound until equipped. And then it will become soul-bound. Once you have chosen to use it for yourself, it is yours, and, so on and so on. There is still a couple of little questions there, for sure. I know that is definitely the thing. Somehow I think there can only be 5 characters in a warband. Why call it that way then? Just say things are now account-wide and such. Decoration, systemizing it. Systemizing it. That's the word I'm looking for. I would assume. Character select screen. Getting rid of all of this. It sounds really dumb, but making the character select screen just smarter and more interesting. So not sissifying. No, no, definitely not. Definitely not. Yeah, delves. I suspect that delves are still very, very early, considering there was absolutely no... There was not even a real screenshot of what a delve really even is. It was all very hypothetical. But if it's taking from past adventures, island expeditions, Torghast, then there's the digs. Clearly, you're going to have some play in there. There was a period in it where I started instantly thinking about on the Isle of Thunder, what was the cave you went into on the Isle of Thunder, and you trained up your... I can't remember what it was. The withered training. I got flashbacks to the withered training in that as well, in terms of like being limited to how far you can go and whatever, until you charge up your candle. Was that something like whatever it was? Either way, you know what I mean. But some interesting stuff all the same, I think. I think there's some interesting stuff there. Am I a little disappointed that the word professions and crafting has not been muttered even once? Yes, because that means there is absolutely nothing of vast importance to the general player base changing with professions. This is one of the very few scenarios where no news is not good news. Often, no news is fine, right? But in this scenario, no news I do not believe is good news, unfortunately. I think that means that there is very, very little changing with crafting or professions in general. We've already been given a bit of a sneak peek in some of the interviews that crafting is going to be taken forward. Now, we don't know to what degree they mean by that, but it does look like they're going to be taking the crafting system forward and reiterating a new variation of it for the new expansion. Is that going to include all aspects of crafting, or is there going to be, hashtag some changes? Who knows? We'll have to guess. I guess we'll find out. We did get some dates, though. Not solid, not put them in your diary dates, but like rough dates. Spring was mentioned for the alpha. Somebody looked it up earlier. The Dragonflight alpha. When was the Dragonflight alpha? Because you can sort of start to get a feel for when the expansion launch will be. But spring for the alpha, which my money's on sort of like sort of March, April for an alpha. That'll last for a little while, then it'll go quiet for a bit. A beta in the summer at some point, before probably a late October, early November expansion launch. But that does still mean 12 months of Dragonflight. 12 months of Dragonflight. And they've still said next to nothing. Obviously, these panels are all about what's next and the new expansion. Either way. They showed the profession achievement things. Does that count? Well, not really. I mean, there'll always be a way to make gold, but it wouldn't be in Blizzard's best interest money-wise to make it harder to make gold. They did confirm a 10.25, but we kind of already knew there's a 10.25 because the PTR was updated. It's still fully encrypted. You can't have access to it, but one of the PTR setups that they have has changed to 10.25. So, well, there we go. Boys and girls, though, I'm not going to spend too long this evening going over this in too much detail, mostly because what is Saturday evening for starters, and secondly, we had a late night yesterday, so I'm going to compose my thoughts, maybe put a little video together on this, see what my general overview is. So keep your eyes peeled for on the YouTubes for that to pop up probably sometime tomorrow. If not, maybe Monday. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, jump in the Discord. We'll get the chat going. We can continue the chat semi-offline over in the Discord. The links are all over the place for that. I should probably do a Discord link. come say hi over in the Discord. And we'll be back. I'm taking a day off from streaming tomorrow. We'll be back on Monday. And of course, then we'll be well underway for, looking forward to 10.2. 10.2 launching next week is going to keep us very busy for a few days, for sure. I'm excited now. I'm frustratingly slightly more. In fact, I am way more excited for the next expansion that's 12 months away than I am the patch that's literally a handful of days away. But it should be fun all the same. So enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your evening. If you are continuing watching the BlizzCon footage, please enjoy. Say hi in the Discord. I'll stop rambling. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of the weekend, boys and girls. And I'll catch you all later. Peace.